Don't say I never do anything for you guys. I went out and spent 60 fecking euro on Balan Wonderworld. Now, this has had quite an interesting launch. Firstly, the game should have been called Balan Wonderland. It just rolls off the tongue so much better. Just say it to yourself there for a second. Do you see what I mean? Anyway, the demo released on the 28th of January and the reception was interesting. The Switch version looked absolutely terrible. And it's not like the game is massive or complex. It's a pretty basic PS2 era platformer, for God's sake. Now, stupidly, I never played the demo, or really watched any gameplay, so I went in completely blind. Last Friday I was on the PS Store and saw the game and thought to myself, either I waste €60 making an interesting video, or I found out the game was actually worth it. Now, I didn't come to either of those conclusions, after about 10 hours of beating the game. So does Balan Wonderland deserve its reputation? Let's find out. If you like some chill gaming content about all sorts of games and platforms, then please subscribe. Balan Wonderworld is a 3D platformer where you explore 12 different worlds, each with 2 levels, a boss, and a load, and I mean a load of costume power-ups and collectibles to find. If you're looking for longevity, then this is a great platformer for that. I haven't felt so conflicted about a game like this in a while. On one hand, the level design is reminiscent of some of the worst levels in Yooka-Laylee, feeling completely empty and uninteresting, while other levels are an absolute blast to play. Balan is such a charming game. You can tell there was a lot of passion poured into this, and that was the thing that kept me coming back. Maybe a lack of time and or budget was the thing that fecked the developers over in the end. There are so many strange design choices that give the wrong impression. But somehow I can come away from Balan Wonderworld thinking while it was probably only worth €40 at the most, it was still an enjoyable experience, especially since I can't get enough of 3D platformers. Hands down, the best thing about the game is the audio-visual experience. The pre-render cutscenes are absolutely phenomenal, and I couldn't wait to see what was in store for me on the next level. The visuals are translated over the gameplay with mixed results. The first 2 levels are a terrible showing for the game. The design is bad with little to explore and the visuals are extremely bland, so I can't blame anyone for giving up after the demo. But it just gets better and better the further you go. Each world has its own theme that's centered around the hardships that a person has gone through. In one level you're exploring a lava-filled cavern that was formed from the mind of a firefighter. Another is a jumbled concoction of stairs and checkerboards similar to the Relativity picture. There are NPCs dancing around the levels and for whatever reason, when you go near them they vanish. I seriously cannot wrap my head around this, it still confused me after playing the game. One other thing about the levels, whoever decided to have these warpy feckin' things should be sacked. I felt less sick playing VR than I have traversing these levels. The constant change of perspective would have been a cool design if it wasn't executed like this, so just be warned. Now, the main chunk of the game is a 3D platformer and the controls are pretty solid. But here's where the first issue is. Every face button, L2 and R2 do the same thing. They either jump if your power-up allows you to jump, or does something like shoot a projectile if your power-up allows for it. But that leads to another big issue. Only some power-ups can jump. Why the feck wasn't there a dedicated jump button for every power-up, then use circle or square for an attack or a unique ability? This is absolutely baffling and I'd be curious if the game was ever intended to be released on mobile with the one button function. The power-ups are arguably the most unique part of the gameplay. There are 80 to collect, some are great while others are useless and frustrating. The best ones allow you to extend your jump or hover, almost like a Tanuki suit in Mario. Each one does it in different ways and that's where the uniqueness comes from. One will let you hover, another will spawn a bubble that you can float on, and the best is the icy majigger that extends your jump distance and height. There is a clear progression with the power-ups and some are needed to 100% the levels, meaning you have a reason to go back after you unlock all the costumes. The first jump extender is the rabbit power-up that isn't too useful, but you progressively find better alternatives making the backtracking easier. The biggest issue here is switching between them. So you can store 3 power-ups at once and you switch using R1 and L1, but to transition into them takes a few seconds and it is quite frustrating, especially when you need to quickly change a specific suit to damage a boss. If every suit had a jump, then this wouldn't have been as big an issue, but why would anyone think a dedicated jump button in a platformer would be a good idea? It's absolutely beyond me. Enemies are pretty much useless. They may as well not be there, but in all honesty that's usually the case with 3D platformers. I can't remember the last time an enemy in Mario Odyssey, Banjo-Kazooie or Yooka-Laylee ever caused me any sort of trouble. But at least the enemies in them games had fun designs. The ones in Balan Wonderworld are just a big rip-off of the Heartless from Kingdom Hearts. Luckily the bosses more than make up for this though. I've always thought bosses in 3D platformers are too easy, but what carries them is their cool designs, and Balan does a really good job here. I feckin' love the boss designs, they remind me of something out of Persona or Final Fantasy. And yes, they are a bit easy, but they do a great thing where each boss gives 3 statues which are the game's main collectible. Each one is given for attacking them a certain way. Most bosses can be hurt by using the power-up found in their respective levels, and they usually have 3 attacks. If you figure out how to damage them in each specific attack, you get 3 statues, or you can just stick with the one attack and only receive 1 statue. It gave them an extra layer of thought that I really liked. I was initially going to platinum the game, but the 100% completion turned me off, and it was mostly to do with these fluffy feckers. The teams are similar to the Chow Garden from my understanding. Throughout the levels you find eggs that hatch teams, and when you bring them back to the hub, you can feed them the gems you find in the world. Then you put them through a windmill for whatever reason. Then this tower of teams starts to build itself. I am so confused as to what is going on here. And once again, since there was only one button for every action, trying to pick them up is absolutely infuriating, so that's the main reason why I'm not going to bother for 100% completion. However, if you want a platinum, there is so much content here, and minor spoilers alert, when you beat the game, it unlocks a new level in each world that is a remixed version of the level with harder platforming challenges, and I really enjoyed going through these. Now the big question. Should you buy Balan Wonderworld? Well, I don't actually know. At €60, I could almost objectively say that it's not worth it. Not from a time standpoint, but a quality standpoint. Crash 4 was €70, and I never felt unhappy with that price because the game is of a certain standard that Balan is so far away that it can't even sniff it. At €30 or €40, I think there is enough here to entice fans of the genre, especially if you're looking for something a bit different. It had some good ideas, but their execution is a bit lackluster. In saying that though, I am not disappointed with my purchase, but I'm also not happy. It could have been a lot better than it was, and you never know, a sequel could do this series well, but it's whether or not Square will fund it, or just tell Yuji Naka and the boys to feck off. There it is, Balan Wonderworld. I really appreciate your time and would love to know what you think about the video and the game. Don't forget to subscribe and join the Discord down below, and I'll see you all in the next video.